Shout out to my grandparents, because that's the only way they can hear me. I've got diarrhea, my dad's got diarrhea, and my grandparents have diarrhea. Runs in the family. My communist grandparents hated each other, but still stayed married for more than 60 years. It was a Soviet Union. My aunts and grandparents used to love coming up to me at weddings, poking me in the chest saying, "You're next." But they stopped after I started doing the same to them at funerals. What do you do when your grandparents can't control their bowels anymore? Depends. My grandparents are bad with computers. They shove a pill in it when it had a virus. My wife told our friends that the grandfather clock we inherited from her grandparents doesn't work. I chimed in with they ran out of time. I've written a children's book about Goldilocks, who grew up and steals things from her grandparents. Goldilocks and the Forebears. My grandmother was famous all over town for growing delicious strawberries. She made me promise that when she died, I would plant her strawberries on her grave so that people could enjoy them when they visited. When she passed away, I fulfilled my promise. She's dead and buried. My grandmother was 80% Irish. Her name was Iris. I asked my grandmother how she is enjoying her new stairlift. She said it's driving her up the wall. I'll never forget the last thing my grandmother said to me. "I don't think you're supposed to unplug that." My grandmother died because we didn't know her blood type. But she remained inspirational right until the end. "Be positive," she would say over and over. Visited my grandmother on her deathbed last night. Her last words were, "Wish I'd bought a normal bed." A small boy swallowed some coins and was taken to a hospital. When his grandmother telephoned to ask how he was, a nurse said, "No change yet." I received a phone call today that the cemetery crew had buried my poor grandmother in the completely wrong plot. I sternly told them, "You've made a grave mistake." I have my grandmother on speed dial. That's what I call Instagram. How tall is the world's smallest grandmother? 1 nanometer. At the age of 65, my grandmother started walking 5 miles a day. She's 92 now, and we have no idea where she is. My 95-year-old grandmother is amazing. She still doesn't use glasses. She drinks straight from the bottle. My grandmother led a great life, so we made sure to cremate her. Because she ended. I asked my kids if they liked my grandmother. They said, "She's a great grandmother." My dear old grandmother always used to say the way to a man's heart was through his stomach, which is why she lost her job as a cardiac surgeon. My grandmother's teeth were like the stars. They came out at night. I think my grandmother was inspired by the Chinese Communist Party. Whenever I visited, I only got to see the good China. My girlfriend Anna invited me to a family party. I was seated between her two grandmothers and had a great time talking with them. They both loved me and told Anna they approved. It turns out I'm great with anagrams. On his deathbed, my grandfather said, "Remember these two words. It'll open a lot of doors for you in life. Push and pull." My grandfather has the heart of a lion and a lifetime ban from the zoo. We'll continue with more dad humor after this quick pause. My grandfather keeps telling us that when he dies, we should try to convert his ashes into a diamond. That's a lot of pressure. My grandfather was always terrible until I had my first child. Now he's a great-grandfather. My favorite childhood memory is building sand castles with my grandfather. Until my mother took the urn from me. Back in the day, my grandfather started to say, "You could walk into a grocery store with $2 in your pocket and walk out with a loaf of bread, a dozen eggs, and a bit of butter as well." But today, he continued, "Wherever you go, there are cameras." What did the digital clock say to the grandfather clock? "Look, Grandpa. No hands." I will always fondly remember the last words my grandfather said before he kicked the bucket. "How far do you think I can kick this bucket?" When my great-grandfather went bald, he built a machine to weave a wig out of yarn. He gave it to my grandfather, who then gave it to my dad, and one day it will be mine. It's a family heirloom. My dyslexic grandfather was a baker in the army. He used to go into battle with all buns glazing. My grandfather always said, "Don't be so quick to find faults." Wonderful man, terrible geologist. My grandfather poured his blood, sweat, and tears into his career. Amazing man. Horrible chef. My grandfather, who was in the army, once told me, 1940, I met my first love. 1946, my second. 1950, I met the woman of my dreams. It was quite a hectic evening. My grandfather always wore denim, as did my father, and so do I. Must be something in the genes. My grandfather's last words were, "Gallons. Quarts. Liters." That spoke volumes. My friend's grandfather asked me if I wanted to see a picture of his Pride and Joy. When I said yes, he pulled a picture of the cleaning products Pride and Joy. The man carries these pictures in his wallet at all times. My grandma always used to say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. I don't know if that's true or just one of Granny's myths. A lad asks his granny, "Have you seen my pills? They were labeled LSD?" Granny replied, "Never mind the pills. Have you seen the dragons in the kitchen? My mother's mother lost her false teeth at the retirement home. We searched the place everywhere but couldn't find them. We looked in every nook and cranny. My grandpa said that we youngsters rely on technology too much. I replied, no, you do, and unplugged his life support. I asked my grandpa, after 65 years together, you still call Grandma darling, beautiful, and honey. What's the secret? He laughed. I forgot her name 5 years ago and I'm scared to ask her what it is. I asked my grandpa how he became a successful farmer after struggling for so many years. He said, well, it all started when I began keeping a tally of each of my cows. Seeing my puzzled face, he added, that was the cattle list. My grandpa grew up during the Depression. As a result, he never threw anything away. He died in the war, holding a hand grenade. My grandpa said he couldn't call me because of a ransomware attack. But Gramps doesn't own a computer and still uses an old-school flip phone. I asked him what happened. He told me some guy grabbed my phone and ransomware. It all happened so fast. My grandpa told me he got to see the Titanic and warned everyone not to get on board because he knew it was going to sink. He warned them over and over, until the moment they kicked him out of the movie theater. What is an elderly person's favorite music genre? Near-death metal. What's the favorite fruit for old people? Elderberry. What happened to the elderly egg? They sent him to the old Yolks home. I recently founded a dating service for the elderly. It's called Carbon Dating. Don't mess with my tall Italian grandfather. That's a big no-no. Italian grandma elks don't like fame. They'd rather just stay in Nana Moose. I'm Montgomery Jones. We're on a mission to spread the laughs and groans far and wide, so please do us a favor and share just one of these jokes with your family and friends today. Thanks. Looking for the gift for Dad? We have the official Daily Dad Jokes Podcast electronic joke button now available on Amazon. A massive 500 preloaded dad jokes guaranteed to make you laugh and groan. Check the show notes page for the link. The Daily Dad Jokes Podcast is produced by Classic Studios. See the show notes page for social media links and joke credits. This show was recorded in front of a canned studio audience.